Thank you for joining us for another edition of Behind the Final Call cover story. This edition of the paper, we have our brother DMX on the cover. This is a very special edition of the paper. This is volume number 40, number 30. The date on the paper is May 4th, 2021. And with that said, Ramadan Mubarak, Assalamu alaikum. And of course, I want to welcome our brother, the editor of the Final Call newspaper, Brother Naba Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Naba.
Well, alaikum salam, sir. Thank you for having me. Pleasure, honor, Ramadan Kareem. And we are thankful to Allah to have the opportunity to once again go a little bit behind the Final Call cover.
The question that I always ask, and maybe as we get into it, we'll share the little behind the scenes on what happened. But I'll start off as we always start off, Brother Naba. Why this cover story?
Well, this cover story, of course, is devoted to the homegoing service for our brother DMX and the other celebration of his life that was held before last Sunday. We wanted to present the type of coverage that would help to give us an insight into who this man was, what his life meant, the value of his contributions, lessons we can learn. Where do we go from here? And this man had a great international, social, and cultural and musical impact. So literally millions of records. And so his departure from this life gave us an opportunity, and it gave us as the Final Call the opportunity to now present our brother to the world the way we see him and not as others may have seen him. And the Sunday service was so touching. So much love, so much unity, and especially the incredible words delivered by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I mean, absolutely incredible. We have those words in this edition of the Final Call for you. They're worthy of study, and they touch so many people in a very, very positive way. And of course, the enemies turned around and hated the words and hated the man without a cause. But that is to be expected.
Yes.
But our ability to define ourselves and our ability to hear a man who can help us learn to put our own lives into perspective and to then work in the cause of the rise of our people is a really, really incredible thing. And those words, and you can get the minister's words at finalcall.com. The cover is absolutely beautiful, the hard work of our staff. And we are just trying to be what we hope to be, Black America's newspaper, Black America's voice, and a watchman on the wall regarding our people.
Thank you. Just really want, I know a lot of work goes into putting the paper together. And of course, I know, as you mentioned earlier when we were just talking, is that, it's a totally different show when you have a very important story that breaks on Sunday like this. Can you give us a little behind the scene with that, as well as what goes into actually selecting a cover?
Well, your cover, of course, is in a sense the defining aspect of your publication, because it is that which the people see first. It is that which tries to represent to the public, this is something important. This is something you need to pay attention to. This is something that you really need to get informed about right here, right now. And we're offering you that information, that perspective, that insight. So you're looking for photos that are impactful. They may be inspiring. They may be horrifying. They may be iconic. They may cause you to be thoughtful, reflective. And so we wanted to show our brother DMX, born Earl Simmons, in a particular way. And we felt that this really iconic image of him head bowed, X above his arms and hands forming an X above his head, was a rather reflective representation of who he was and is, and a dignified one. And I think that when you look throughout the paper, you will find images of him that present him a certain way in terms of what he meant to our people. So we got beautiful pictures on the inside. And since this service was on Sunday, you know, we had to work. So we worked Sunday and Monday. And we actually had to make, as we say, uh, about 10 pages on Monday, which is a tremendous work to be done for a 40-page publication. But we thank our staff, in particular our production manager, Brother Timothy, who's a great designer and artist, our managing editor, Sister Starla, our editorial staff, Sister Jennifer, Sister Tarika, Sister Marcella, our other designers, Brother Nathan and Brother Nadir, and all of those writers and photographers who literally helped make this happen. So, you know, we work hard, but the paper goes to press Monday. You can sleep on Tuesday. And of course, you can't do all this work in a single day. So we had to get as much done as we could on Sunday, and then we had to round it off by Monday.
Yes, sir. Praise due to Allah. We definitely, I know I appreciate it, and I know our viewing audience definitely probably appreciates it as well. I want to encourage them to like, share, and let others know that the show is going on. And we would definitely always welcome and look forward to seeing and hearing your feedback. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You mentioned that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's words are in the paper, and we usually close with those, but I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for us to kind of go ahead and jump into those. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, this was really an incredible message from the minister.
Definitely.
It was not very long, but he put Brother DMX's life into a context. And he talked about how Almighty God used this brother as a prophet to impart knowledge to people, to impart life lessons to people. Even as DMX struggled with his own personal difficulty. But the minister asked a question, or he actually said, he didn't raise a question. He basically said that God does not use just prophets who live pristine lives. And so understanding that, and us getting a deeper understanding of the divine self and that struggle between the lower self and the higher self, and what it takes for that to happen successfully. I mean, it was really incredible. The minister used scriptures in particular, the Bible, and teaching about Jesus that really touched people. And it was such a message that brought people together. It brought comfort to the children. It brought comfort to those in that sanctuary. It brought comfort to those who heard and whose hearts were not tainted with the disease of hatred, envy, jealousy, and flat out desires to destroy this man. And those who hate this man without a cause, except that they understand that they will not be allowed to continue to do evil forever. And the voice of this man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is that voice in this hour, in this divine time, that is helping to bring in or ushering in or bearing witness to, or all of those things in terms of the great judgment of the wicked. But that message was inspiring. That message was uplifting. that message was insightful. And the beautiful thing is you can actually read it for yourself. You can also watch the video, but you can read the words and you can consider them for yourself. You can pull out quotes and you can do wonderful things with a wonderful message, because that message was not just about the life of DMX, but it was about what we can learn from that life and how we can examine our own lives and our own gifts and our own purpose and our own reasons for living. So it was really incredible. So I say, get the paper, read the paper, go to finalcall.com and do yourself a favor and treat yourself to those incredible words that came from an incredible spirit.
Yes, sir. All praise are due to Allah. And I was blessed to be with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as those words were being delivered, and just seeing his spirit and his energy was definitely a blessing. And just, he watched the whole service, which is just to see his patience. And, one of the beautiful things about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is he is who he is. And is not a different person. Of course, there's private moments that he may have, but the genuine person that you see him when you saw him at Aretha Franklin's funeral, and you saw his attentiveness in the privacy of on his own property, he's the same beautiful individual. So that definitely is a blessing, and we definitely encourage you to check those words out. We're going to hold it. I'm going to go ahead and jump back and go to page 2. And of course, that the coverage of that this beautiful article starts on page 5, I believe, of the paper.
Yes. Well, it actually starts on page 4, our coverage of
right.
DMX, with a full page photo. See, that's why you got to get the paper. With the full page photo of him and the headline, "He was a prophet." And then the story begins with some great pictures. So again, I mean, do yourself a favor, get this edition of the Final Call, and then keep getting the Final Call.
Praise to Allah. Thank you. So we're going to jump back a little bit. An article that, of course, if you don't know about this story of our brother, actually, I'm trying to bring it up. Give me a moment. Having a little technical difficulty, but the title of the article is "Bitter Tears, Broken Hearts, and the Strength to Fight."
Well, this is the story of Daunte Wright, young black man in Minnesota, literally 10 minutes from where Derek Chauvin was on trial for the killing of George Floyd, and would be found guilty of murdering George Floyd in the streets of Minneapolis while the world was able to watch. As that was unfolding, this young man, 20 years old, father of a young child, was shot to death by a police officer, white police officer. And so this article dealt with his case, and it dealt with the memorial service of funeral for him. And it just showed how impactful these shootings are. And we talk a little bit about some of the history in Minneapolis and in that area, because Daunte was killed in a suburb. He was killed in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, which is, again, a suburb. But there's even reasons why Black folk are literally in that suburb. So you got to read the Final Call to get some insight, to get some background, and to get some understanding of exactly what is going on, why it's happening, and what needs to be done about it.
Yes, I praise you to Allah. And the beautiful thing is that you're gonna always get a perspective from the Final Call newspaper that you're not gonna get from anywhere else. So we definitely encourage you to subscribe to the digital edition. But when you see the brothers in the street, man, when you support the paper, you're not just supporting a physical publication, you're supporting a work and a mission. And of course, at the same time, while you're doing that, you're able to benefit by getting words of guidance, instruction, and you're just not going to get that anywhere else. So we're going to go ahead and move on. We have a lot. I mean, this paper was full, even with the coverage of our brother DMX being the cover story. There's a lot that was covered in this edition. Still, the next one I want to jump to is dealing with the case that we know that you referred to earlier with Chauvin and the conviction. They tricked us into feeling safe.
Yeah, the Derek Chauvin verdict, we know, most of us know, that this is a white police officer convicted of killing George Floyd. So essentially, we had the opportunity to talk to people about what this case means going forward. And so we had different people offer their analysis in terms of what it meant. There was not necessarily this great belief that something wonderful would happen that would usher in a brand new day. So you've got to read that article to get the perspectives and the view from different people about what this moment in time represents. And one of the things about this is, um, as we were awaiting the verdict or getting the verdict, or maybe even beginning to celebrate the verdict, in the Chauvin case, we had the death of Ma'Khia Bryant, a young black girl, a teenager shot to death by a police officer in Columbus, Ohio. So we wanted to show that story as well. And I think you're right, Brother Troy. The paper is really packed with a lot of information. And we hope that you will get it and read it and gain a little more in terms of understanding and perspective.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just trying to click around and get this other article up that you're referring to, Heartbreak Hits Columbus, Ohio. So, Matt, definitely make sure you check that out. I mean, the death and destruction and the murdering of our people wholesale has not stopped. We don't have any indication that those who have been the culprits of this outside of our community that have architect this are the architects of this are going to stop. So we shouldn't assume that they're going to stop, but we have to take the responsibility and make, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan called for, is to make our communities a clean and decent place to live. It's on us. Nobody else is going to do for us what we have the ability to do for ourselves.
Safe and decent places to live.
Yes, sir.
And we always want our communities to be clean. It's a sign of self-respect and responsibility.
So, of course, we talked about our brother, and of course, we have another article that we'll get to as we move forward. But our coverage on DMX, and you can see, man, for some of those who still have not seen the digital edition, you can see how, man, it's really easy to read. This is on my computer, but the experience that you get when you have on a tablet or an iPhone, man, definitely, if you haven't had that experience, you want to check that out. We're going to jump, of course, to this article. It's been covered in a few previous editions of the Final Call newspaper, but protesters demand free Mumia before he dies.
Yeah, this was, again, another weekend activity. So this is another page that we had to make immediately between Saturday and Monday. There was a protest where Mumia Abu Jamal, the former Black Panther former MOVE member, internationally recognized political prisoner who has been in jail for some 40 years for the killing of a police officer, which his supporters and others say he is guilty of, or they say that he demands a new trial because there was so much wrong with the trial that he was given. But Mumia was in the hospital. He underwent serious surgery. There were concerns about him being shackled. There are concerns about other health problems that he has. They are concerned about a very severe skin disease. So when you read this article, you will hear from those who are calling for his release, and you will hear why. Also on that same page, we have a story related to the MOVE family, and this is, of course, the movement founded by John Africa in Philadelphia. And this is where the Philadelphia Police Department literally dropped a bomb on the MOVE home, and it destroyed pretty much a block of homes. But we have found out that in addition to the deaths, that there were some remains that were found. And those remains were used in anthropology courses by a couple Ivy League universities. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Go to finalcall.com and read about that story for yourself. And inshallah, God willing, we will have another follow-up to that story this week as well. But you would have to wonder what kind of people do these things, where you drop a bomb on Black people in a neighborhood and set ablaze the whole neighborhood. People are injured and die. And then the remains, and these were the remains of 2 children, are not even given a decent burial.
Yes, sir.
Right? And this thing that happened with MOVE, it didn't happen yesterday. Didn't happen 2 days ago. Didn't happen 5 years ago. This happened in 1985. And yet, there was no proper burial of these children. And from what we are told by MOVE, none of the MOVE family, according to what we have been told by the MOVE family, we mean members of that organization, were contacted about the remains. So again, you really need to read it for yourself.
And you know, the thing as you discussed it, and honestly, I haven't had a chance to get to this article, but it calls to mind the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we can't fathom how wicked this enemy is. We can't fathom the depths of what he can do and what he has done and will continue to do as long as we don't do what we need to do and separate. So
absolutely.
And I mean, on another note, and I got to switch it because, you know, sometimes, it seems like sometimes the paper is just is strategically placed because you hear, and we have to know the evils and the unfortunate realities that we're experiencing and that are going on across the world. But then, you know, there's something in the paper that brings you back up. And of course, working cheerfully in the cause of Allah, God, coverage has been going on almost every week, where you talk about the work that the FOI and the Nation of Islam are doing in our communities. Can you give us a little bit about that?
Well, once again, we are pleased, honored, and blessed to highlight the work of the men of the Nation of Islam, the members of the Fruit of Islam, who in the midst of a pandemic continue to go out to warn, to serve, to resurrect our community. So we just love to showcase the brothers and their work. We hope that you will support that work. We hope that you will support that work. We hope and pray that you will support that work, because that work is being done on your behalf.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. And you can see the beautiful pictures that are shown from brothers that across the country. All praises are due to Allah. Just flipping through, Morris Brown College nears reaccreditation after 20 years. Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta president on reparations. There should be a discussion about redress.
Yeah, couple stories. One about historic Morris Brown College, which has had some problems, which is now, as part of its way back, regaining accreditation. Very important step for this historic Black university. The other thing, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank in Atlanta, a Black man, has now said also that there should be some type of redress or some type of reparations. So we are really at a moment that we need to pay attention to, as the different voices and from places where you would never hear and where you have never heard are now starting to talk about this issue of reparations. So we are just trying to chronicle that and to show how important this issue remains for us, not just in terms of a check personally, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about reparations in the sense of us being given land or a territory of our own.
That's right.
And then our needs being supplied for 20 to 25 years until we're able to fully go for self. That is a powerful, powerful understanding of reparations. But as this thing continues to unfold, what we want to do is to show different aspects of this discussion. Now, remember, some years ago, this was called a pipe dream. This was called the delusional aspirations of Black nationalists and those who had gone out of style. But we see now this is an issue that continues to come back in one way or another. So I suggest we need to pay attention and continue to learn and to read and to see what is happening with this issue.
Yes, sir. Praise you to Allah. And of course, what has been kind of a normal thing, an occurrence in the paper for the past few months at this point, is there's always coverage and update, not just on the coronavirus and the vaccines, but very importantly, as there's a lot of propaganda I know that I've seen on things that are being pushed to encourage us to get vaccinated and all of those types of things. But the Final Call has coverage on a weekly basis that provides a perspective a lot different in many instances on what we see in other popular newspapers and media. Can you give us a little bit about this vaccine push faltering in the U.S.?
Well, essentially, the main thing that we were talking about was the continued failures and rejection of this experimental vaccine. That it is not something that people are rushing to. That people are still saying no. People are still refusing to go along with this vaccine situation, this experimental vaccine. So again, read the article for yourself and read the numbers of people, the percentages of people who say they either are skeptical of the vaccine or not taking the vaccine, as well as questions and problems with the spread of this disease. Of course, problems with some of the vaccines themselves and causing blood clots and other damaging negative impacts on health. So finalcall.com, go there and read all about it.
Praise you to Allah. Thank you. I guess I cannot skip this article. Death of President Idris Deby signals uncertain future of Sahel Chad. Can you give me first? Did I pronounce everything correct?
Yeah, this is basically, you're talking about two nations in Africa, and the longtime leader of Chad he actually died on the battlefield. So essentially, The question becomes what will now happen in the region because France is involved. France has long been involved and has long supported the President Deby of Chad as their client, if you will, in terms of being someone who is ruling a country, but operating in a way that also goes along with French interests, and in particular, this battle of a quote unquote Islamist or terrorist or whatever you want to call them. President Deby, has been lauded by France and other Western countries for being their man to help keep those forces at bay. So now we will see what happens now that he no longer is living. So again, volatile situation, and we always want to highlight those things that are happening around the world that we need to pay attention to.
Yes, sir. Praise it to Allah. Thank you for that. I want to encourage you once again, those who are watching live, please invite others. Please like and share. We definitely appreciate your feedback and your perspective. So we're going to click through a few of these. As you mentioned, a lot of international news of things that are going around the world that you don't necessarily find in every paper. But I know you'll be a little interested in going into this one a little bit. And this actually references and goes back a little bit on the cover article of the paper, as well as the minister's words that was shared in this edition of the paper. That, of course, you can find if you have the digital edition. Right in the digital edition of the paper, when you go to the minister's article, you can click and actually watch the article right there. Watch the video right there, but as well as listen to it. But your editorial this week, defending our voice of comfort and love. What happened?
Well, the minister's message, if you saw it, and if you saw reactions on social media, this is at the DMX funeral. It was so beautiful, and it moved so many people. One of those people was Daymond John of the Shark Tank program, investor program. And he was also the founder of FUBU, For Us, By Us, back in the day. And, brother posted something online where he basically said, man, the minister's message was great. He really showed a lot of respect for other religions. And, basically I was really moved and impressed by that. Well, shortly thereafter, he was attacked. He pulled down a tweet and he posted something that basically said, I was just talking, this is Mr. John, I was just talking about what he said at DMX's funeral. I didn't know about these other things, and I apologize. And so it was really, really sad that in the midst of tragedy, a man offers comfort and words to a family of grieving, hurting community. This man, brother DMX's ex-wife was there, who was his first love from age 18 until they divorced a few years ago. The mother of 4 of his children. His fiance was there with her son. And there were other children there that he fathered 15 in all, and many of them were at the funeral. So the beauty of what was said, by seeing everyone together, seeing his wife, who was ex-wife, embrace his fiance, seeing his children embrace one another.
That's right.
Seeing those who were with DMX from the beginning come back together and to talk about their work together, and that going forward, we all need to come together. To the pastor of the church, who really did a wonderful job of offering his church home as a place where our people could come and be together and not leave in a mournful spirit, but leave in a spirit that was reflective, but inspiring, but uplifting. And the words of Minister Farrakhan played such a role in that. The entire funeral or homegoing service was beautiful.
Absolutely.
But those words that the minister spoke, they were so filled with love. They were so filled with comfort. And yet the enemy immediately attacks. We talked about earlier in Chad where President DB was killed. Now, he was killed because he went to the front line in a battle with rebels in his country who opposed him, right? At his death, the rebels, the people that killed him and the people that he and his forces were trying to kill. At his death, the rebels said, we are going to back off for a day or so to allow for a funeral. Here are two people literally trying to kill each other, but they have enough respect for one another to allow for the burying of the dead and a man that they fought to take off the planet. But here we are, suffering. And in the midst of that suffering, Almighty God, Allah, gives us a man with over 60 years of service to us, who speaks for us, and who also speaks for freedom, justice, and equality for the entire world. But in particular, he speaks to and for the despised, the rejected, the unloved, the forgotten in America, the most despised, the most rejected, Black people. And here we are, having lost this iconic figure at 50 years old. And Minister Farrakhan pours oil in our wounds. He gives us a soothing, truthful understanding. He gives us divine insight and guidance. He shares with the children how they can always access their Father. He shares with the children the beauty of them together, the value of them coming together. He showed respect to the women in DMX's life who gave him children. But our enemies saw none of that because they are the true haters in the deepest sense. So we wanted to defend our minister, and we wanted to say to our people who he was, but what we also wanted to show was there's also a kind of rising discontent. And a lot of Black people are tired of Jewish organizations and Jewish leaders and Zionists. They're getting pretty tired and fed up, and they are tired. They're not just they're already there. So many of them struck back on Twitter, and they really said some things to Brother Daymond John. They didn't appreciate his lack of what they said was courage. But they also said to those who continue to attack the minister, we are fed up with you as well. And how could you do that to him? And how could you do that to us at this time? So the enemy continues to reveal himself. And so long as we see the enemy and we see our servant and Allah's servant and we stand for him, we're on the road to victory. So we just wanted to, you can go to finalcall.com and read the editorial, but it's vitally important that we refuse to allow these liars and their lies to go unchecked, unchallenged. We're not going to do that by Allah's grace. We're going to stand tall for this man who has stood tall for us and who is right. Let me say that again. He's on the right course. And these people who hate us, who work to destroy us, and who do not work to help us. Let me say that. Let me say that. So here's a man trying to stop us from destroying ourselves. Here's people that's not working to save us, but they want to destroy him. Well, if they want to destroy him, what do they really feel about us? And that's all I'm going to say on that.
Yes, a very powerful, very powerful. And, you know, I don't know if it hit the media or if it's covered in your editorial, but I was told that they wanted to remove the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's words from the video on the BET video. So the YouTube video was taken down. I don't know if it's been put back up, but
this is the BET video was taken down.
Yeah, so on YouTube, it was on YouTube. It's no longer on YouTube at all.
Oh wow!
So
okay,
but you can still get the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's words right there in the paper. So please make sure that you do.
See, it's another reason why you need the final call, and you need to have your own. But remember, Black entertainment television ain't owned by Black people. Did you hear me? Black entertainment television is not owned by Black people. So when you talk about a decision like that being made, Black folk ain't making that decision. So you need to come on and support the final call and help us to grow so that we can do more to preserve, protect, and defend your interests. Because your enemy is never going to do it. No matter how much you beg, believe, pray, or hope. We must depend on Allah, God, and ourselves.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Brother Naba. And just, you know, that theme right now of, you know, separation is the best and only solution. It is the best and only solution. And I don't know what else will have to happen for us to begin to explore that as not an alternative, but actually the only reality that we have if we are to continue to exist, which we know we will. But man, we have to do something different.
Well, I think that Black folk are steadily moving toward that realization because they're seeing the unchecked killing of Black people. They're seeing the recalcitrance of white people. They're seeing the ineffectiveness of local governments. They're seeing the inability of police departments to change. And this has been an incredible year, but this is just one year of many. But there have been so many cases this year. And I always say, as I heard the minister say years ago, we are already separate. But we're in an inferior position called segregation.
That's right.
We're being dominated. We're like a colony, which is why we are policed like we are police, which is why the resources are sucked out of our neighborhoods, which is why the education is not geared to help us do anything for ourselves. And all of these conditions persist because the only purpose for a colony is to serve the ruling power. That's it. So we are already segregated in an inferior position. Separation is when two equals, like a man and a woman, decide they're going to separate and divorce and move on, just like your little cousin did with her baby daddy. Well, we're talking about that on a big scale. And at the end of the day, you told your little cousin, hey, girl, you did the right thing by leaving him because y'all wasn't going to have no peace together. But y'all seem to be doing better now that you're apart. At a certain point, we're going to have to come to the understanding that we're better separated than living under tyranny among people that hate us. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said to us, some years ago that we would come face to face with the raw, naked brutality, evil, deadly nature of white people. And that is literally happening before our eyes right now.
And the thing that you said, that last part, is happening in front of our eyes, because the thing that I always reflect on when we see these instances of our people suffering under the hands of white, and in most instances, police officers, is these are the ones that got caught on tape. When we look at our brother in Milwaukee, Derek Floyd, as he was murdered in front of a camera, that cop looked like that wasn't the first time he did that. That's the thought that comes to my mind. That wasn't the first time. That's the time they got caught on camera. We see the things that we see; those only represent how many that weren't caught on camera, how many that were done in the woods, how many were done late at night when there wasn't a camera around. Is we can't even begin to entertain or think that these instances of police, not brutality, but police murder, that these are the only ones that are happening. These are the ones that got caught on tape. And these are the ones that got caught on tape and have been released to the public.
Right, because I don't know if anything has changed yet, but remember, we have the killing of a brother right now that is raising concern, and God willing, we will cover it next week in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. His attorneys and his family say he was executed. This is what they're saying. And as of a couple hours ago, because I've been in a meeting, so I don't know if it's been released, that video had still not been released 5 or 6 days after this man was killed.
Yes, sir. Well, we know we have work ahead of us. And that's the thing. And, we talked briefly about that. It's important that, as we reflect, and sometimes we can be too hard on ourselves. And of course, there is a lot to be done, and there's a lot more that we could, and by Allah's permission will do. But we have to acknowledge the work that we are doing. And there's a lot of us that are out there working. There's a lot of us that are exploring and doing things in preparation from us separating from this enemy. And we always, which the final call has done and continues to do a beautiful job at highlighting those. But I think that paradigm of saying, well, black folks ain't doing that definitely has to cease, because there is a lot that we're doing, and by Allah's permission, we'll continue to do a lot more.
Yeah, we might be better said there's nothing that black folks are doing that's not being opposed.
That's right.
And we're doing it anyway. And the more we understand the need to do for ourselves, and the more we understand that we must depend on Allah and ourselves.
That's right.
The more successful we become, and the more empowered we feel. And we see that the ultimate power in the world is not the white man nor his institution or his institutions. It is actually God himself. And we say, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has explained to us, that Almighty God, Allah, is in the world today. And he's on the side, literally, of black men and women, in particular in North America. We are his choice.
That's right.
And America is number one on God's list to be destroyed. So when you see what's happening in this country, keep watching, keep listening, keep learning.
Which takes us to the next article from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. America is falling, her doom is sealed.
I'm not even going to comment on that. I'm going to say read it for yourself. Really, literally. Because read it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Read it for yourself at finalcall.com, or get the print edition of the paper and read this very short but powerful, insightful, prophetic article for yourself. And you I tell you what, after you read it, you go to finalcall.com and then send me your comments on what you think about it, right? Or go to the Final Call Twitter page and tell us what you think.
Yes, sir. Praise the Allah. And in addition to that is, of course, these are highlights from, in most instances, from books of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, be it The Message to the Black Man, Fall of America, Our Savior Has Arrived. So also make sure you visit store.finalcall.com, store.finalcall.com, and make sure that you get all of these books. In particular, as this time and what's going on right now is the fall of America. And what is so interesting about this, and I've said this discussion with others, is that sometimes I reflect on some of the words that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in particular say in this book. They weren't happening then. It's totally prophetic. And when you look and see what's going on now, it's not as if he wasn't writing about today. He was absolutely writing about the day and time in which we're living in right now. So make sure that you get this book if you want and have acknowledged that you need divine guidance. Man, stick with the Final Call newspaper. Get the books of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You won't be upset by that decision. I think that we've gotten through most of it, but I also, and we don't always mention the other articles, but always, man, our brother Jabril Muhammad, although in many instances these are reprints of previous articles, and as well as our mother Tanetta Muhammad, man, it's beautiful how these words, although in some instances written several years ago, are so timely, so relevant, so inspirational, still in this day and time. Make sure you don't just go to the center article of the paper, is where I usually start off with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's article, is go through the paper, go through the entire paper. And even if you don't read every single article in the paper, man, make sure that you check out the headline. Something else is going to grab you and definitely provide you guidance, the guidance that you need in this day and time. So, Brother Naba, of course, our How to Eat to Live, another book of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, volumes 1 and 2, as we fight this, and providing a different alternative to taking the vaccine, is that we want to make sure that we're doing things that improve the condition of our health. And many have agreed, especially in the Black community, that one thing that this coronavirus has exposed is the lack and the terrible health condition that the masses of our people are in. So, man, for some of you who have made the decision to take the vaccine, man, why don't we also make a decision to improve our health and our condition? And for those who have made and have taken a powerful and strong stand not to take it, man, take care of your body, take care of your health, improve your health condition. If you say that you want to take if you took the vaccine because you wanted to stay around a lot longer, then that's not going to do it if you're still doing things and putting things in your mouth that are killing you. So make sure that you're doing those things that will lengthen your life. Read this article in the Final Call newspaper and get volume 1 and volume 2 of How to Eat to Live. Brother Naba, what else do you have for us before we close out? I think you're on mute. He may have had to step away.
Okay. We say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Go to finalcall.com to subscribe. Get the print edition. Get a couple copies. Read it. Send us some feedback either through the website or social media. Let us know what you're thinking. And let us continue to just learn. Let us continue to chart our own course, because our future depends largely, well, not largely, but it depends on Allah and what we do for ourselves. In the end, that will determine whether we are successful or not, but we are blessed with an opportunity to be successful. And we are that vehicle that hopes to show you light, life, and power and the way out of the conditions that we face. Thank you.
Praise to Allah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Once again, for all those who have supported, we see your comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We had a little mishap, and we thought the show is, or I thought the show had started in the beginning. So I apologize for those who may have joined early on, and we started a little late. But hey, with the technology, sometimes it's not the technology is the problem. Sometimes it's the human. So, but thank you once again. Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum. And until next time, behind the final call cover story. Assalamu alaikum.